Every morning, it seems, you wake up to another big change in the world. Innovating so you can meet that change, maybe even be that change, is critical for your organization's survival. Mastercard has evolved to make innovation drive the very core of their business, meeting the future long before it arrives. How they do that is revealed in this episode with Ken Moore, their Chief Innovation Officer. We love developing leaders' innovation skills, and we have so many ways of helping you learn them. There's more on our website at innovativeleadership.com.
I'm your host, Maureen Metcalf, the founder and CEO of the Innovative Leadership Institute, where we help leaders be future ready. Helping us in this mission today is Ken Moore, the Chief Innovation Officer at Mastercard. We'll be introducing you to the store of the future. This is a continuation of a discussion with Mastercard from last week. Ken, we're delighted that you're with us.
Maureen, delighted to be with you. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast and your show.
Chief Innovation Officer at Mastercard does not at all describe the scope of your job. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Certainly. It's definitely one of the coolest sounding job descriptions in the world, though, right?
It is.
But what does Chief Innovation Officer mean? Really, for us, it means trying to figure out where the world is going and then trying to create the products and services that will help clients and ourselves be successful in that world. So to be kind of more specific to that, Maureen, I lead a team called Foundry, which is the innovation arm of Mastercard. And what does Foundry do? I mean, essentially, it's an embedded function right across the organization that powers our ability to create and deliver differentiated products, services, and experiences. So we've got teams of product managers, futurists, really cool job title, probably cooler than my own, researchers, data scientists, experience designers, developers. And then collectively, we're responsible for Mastercard's innovation agenda.
All of us spend and collect money, and much of that is done through the Mastercard platform. So you are, in many ways, the foundation of commerce across all industries.
I think that's true. I mean, I think Mastercard sometimes is misunderstood, Maureen. I mean, historically, and we're very proud of this, we started off very much as a payments network or even a card payments network. But that's not really reflective of Mastercard today. Over the past number of decades, not years, but decades, we've really been evolving our business. So today we have more than just card rails, right? If you're using some of the digital payment tools that are out there, if you're doing ACH payments, indeed, even if you're processing transactions on a blockchain, it's quite possible you're using a Mastercard product and service. But even then, beyond payments, our products and services go way beyond that. We have really substantial businesses in security, in data, in identity, and many, many other businesses beside that. So it's a really diverse company today. The way I would probably categorize us is we're a technology company playing more broadly in commerce. And even if you were to look at our mission, it would talk a lot about kind of powering economies, empowering people, building a sustainable world where everyone matters. And I think that vision, that mission, which is broader than payments, is kind of what defines us. And when you bring that then down into which customers do we serve and why am I here today, it means that we really serve a very diverse set of customers, not just the more traditional kind of retail banks and acquirers and the traditional merchant categories like the in-store merchants that we would have had from decades ago, but also much, much more recent customer segments. So e-commerce, new types of merchant categories, mobile network operators, governments, NGOs, business side of banks. So a really diverse set of customers that we serve today. And in many ways, we realize that we're not the incumbent for some of these customers. So we've had to use differentiation. We've had to use our understanding of the future and our ability to use modern technologies to create compelling products and services that are going to allow us to compete for business with these new customer segments. And I think that's what's really interesting and probably talks a little bit to why we believe it's so important that we understand not just the future of retail, but the future more broadly of commerce.
What are the trends that you're seeing that inform the innovations you're creating?
There's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of changes in both our customers' behavior, so that the merchants, the banks, the government and non-governmental partners that kind of are the middle B in our B2B2C, our B2B to small b being a small enterprise. But we serve their needs, but also we serve the needs of the end customers. So that's a lot of customers to kind of consider here. So we really have to look at the kind of needs of the ecosystem overall. So we have to look at the inputs that we're getting from all of those customers. We spend considerable time and effort ourselves looking at emerging technologies. So technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, but also quantum, 5G becoming 6G, and all these technologies that are both individually interesting, but collectively coming together in really compelling ways that will allow us to change the future of retail. And that's just one lens, right? The second lens is consumers, both what they want today, but also what they're likely to want tomorrow, given change in the world, is changing too. We see those things happening. We also run one of the largest networks of, I suppose, fintechs and partners through both our Start Path program, but also through our broader partnership programs in the world. So we have connections with hundreds and hundreds of VCs. I think we have 80% of the kind of leading fintech partners globally are either our partners or our customers. We see where smart money is being invested in the marketplace. Surely we do our own research here as well. We have a vast network today spanning many, many countries, billions of consumer touch points, over 100 million merchant touch points, and numerous banks. And we put all of that together and then we separate that signal from the noise. And then in the context of bringing that back down to retail, what are we really seeing? There's probably kind of 5 big trends that are starting to play out. First one really is around kind of intelligence in store. So more intelligent journeys and experiences across the actual store itself. And that's really being brought about by kind of data overlays, elevating the in-store shopping experience. So you see more information on a good or a service, so you can find it easier. We'll come back and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. So the first one really is about kind of more intelligent experiences in store. The second one really is about more immersive experiences online. One of the things that online lacks as a channel is you don't get to touch and feel the item and see how it works with the rest of your wardrobe or how it fits in your room if it's an item of furniture. So our mixed reality and other technologies bringing the in-store shopping experience and connecting it to customers either at home or in their mobile applications. The third area is really conversational. So this is the one around AI, right? That thing that we just can't avoid at the moment. So how are AI and communication technologies, edge, 5G, 6G at some point in time? I often get asked, 6G is already a thing. It's just not out there in the world, but we know what it is. We know what it looks like and we know what it will enable. But how are those technologies coming together to power kind of a continuous, really, really personal dialogue between consumers and the brands with which they're engaging? So if it's intelligent, immersive, conversational, and the fourth one then is personal. So how do we use analytics and how do we really understand and give insights to the retailers themselves so that they can better serve and address their customers' preferences and understand their behaviors so they can create a more compelling experience? And the word experience there links to the fifth one. So experiential. And this was probably prompted first by high-end fashion, probably got there before the rest of retail, where fashion, beauty, and apparel brands have been pioneering highly experiential shopping through immersive and also sustainable experiences. So those are probably the kind of 5: intelligent in-store, immersive online, conversational, hyper-personalization, and experiential. And Maureen, if you permit, I'll happily go into some examples of some of the things that I think about when I think about each of those. But before I do that, let me hand it across and see, do you think that would be interesting for you and for your listeners?
I do think it would be interesting. And one thing that strikes me is the trends you're looking at, because my mindset of Mastercard has been my experience with the cards in my wallet and how it connects with Venmo and PayPal and those things. So when you're talking about an augmented shopping experience, you're expanding my view of what I think Mastercard would care about. So I'm curious, as a business owner, as a shopper, how do these trends relate and how does Mastercard attend to them in their innovation agenda?
It's hugely critical. Our success as a company is dependent on their success as a company. which is dependent on doing and creating compelling and trustworthy experiences for consumers. So maybe before I jump into the intelligent and maybe give some examples of that, Maureen, a comment I'd make here is consumers and SMEs out there are really intoxicated by these very, very compelling experiences that technology is making possible tomorrow that maybe aren't possible today. But they also have fear and they see too many bad examples in the paper of bad actors doing bad things. So when I think about Mastercard in this space and I think about this emerging future, our core mission has always been to help businesses and consumers exchange something of value between each other, safely, securely, and with the consumer in control of that experience. All that's really happened here is the number of things that we can exchange that have value has broadened. It's broadened to include data. It's broadened to recognize that the consumer is often more remote from the merchant with which they're having a shopping experience. It's broadened to include loyalty points. So I think when you see Mastercard in that context, we help merchants and consumers and businesses exchange something that has value between each other. I think that maybe gives you a different lens to look at our company and therefore a different lens to help you understand why it's so important for us that businesses and consumers succeed in this world that's coming. And that's really at the heart of our mission. And that's kind of why we lead in here. We also know that when somebody has a relationship with Mastercard, you're not just buying a product or service today. You're also relying on us to invest into unlocking the future and into helping that future arrive in a way that's safe, that's secure, that's going to be built for the benefit of both consumers and for the businesses that we serve. So hopefully, Maureen, that gives you kind of a lens on kind of why we do that and why we lean in. We want retailers to win. We want them to succeed in the future. We want them to create compelling experiences that benefit consumers. And we want to do all of that, the exchange of this broader set of things that have value. We want to be able to enable them to do it safely, securely, and with the consumer in control. Hopefully that makes sense, Maureen.
It does. And I love the innovation focus as a business partner, although I'm in the small b category, that I know I can count on Mastercard to enable my business, not just to meet my client expectations today, but as they evolve and emerge. And as we're focusing on AI and leadership and those things, that we have partners who are more innovative than we are, so that we will not have to worry, how do we do that value exchange?
Thank you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to hopefully help both your listeners and the broader audience understand just the range of capabilities and the role that Mastercard is trying to play. So let me then jump back, Maureen, to your question around kind of unpicking and maybe illustrating through some examples kind of those 5 experiences that we talked about, right? So intelligent, immersive, conversational, personal, and experiential. Had to kind of check myself there to make sure I remember them all. So if I think about intelligent in store, what I'm talking about there is that physical stores themselves are evolving. They're becoming a lot more intelligent. They're using interactive in-store environments and information overlays to kind of educate shoppers both on what they're buying, the provenance of a good or a service. Where did it come from? How did it get there? Or the carbon credits that it has. Was it made in America? Was it using sustainable packaging? So they're providing far more education, but also they're providing, in so many of the bigger stores are already piloting applications that help consumers navigate around the store itself. And they're using technologies like smartphones and smart tech to be able to do that. So smartphones, put it with a branded merchant app, put a bit of geolocation solution on top of it, and suddenly you can actually guide customers around your store to the particular product or service that they're trying to buy. When you think about smart technology, think about creating a more compelling experience, an intelligent experience for the consumer in the store. So what do I mean? Smart shelves that give you information on the product. Interactive mirrors in a changing room, which maybe recommends items that you should buy or allows you to try on items and tells you the other items in stock, maybe a size up, a size down, or in a different color. So those are some examples of some of the smartphone and smart tech applications. And Sherry and Jen may have touched on this, but we're also seeing then innovation both in the friction associated with stores as well. So stores are becoming more intelligent in both the way that you enter the store and also the way you check out from the store. So mobile-based payment solutions, AI-powered apps like a Sam's Club in the US, has got a next-gen scan and go solution. And they can process rewards in real time, but they can also send digital receipts to consumers as they leave the store. Just to give you a few examples, I think Marks and Spencer is using a smartphone app that guides customers around the store. It takes their shopping list that you enter into the app, and it tells you where they all are. So it literally guides you around the store itself to each of the items in the shortest possible time. H&M Group, I think that's cost stores in the US, and Adidas, they've both been using fitting rooms with smart mirrors. So that idea that we talked about displaying a product and allowing you to try on different sizes and colors, but also then perhaps recommending other items that might go with the item that you're wearing. Instacart, I know them very well, fantastic company, deploying thousands of AI-powered smart carts that use computer vision and also AI to identify items. They've got barcode scanners that you can pay on the actual shopping trolley itself, but also they can use personalized offers. And then Walmart, I know, is also using AI-enhanced scan and go technology to pay as you go and bypass the kind of checkout line. So there's quite a lot going on in that kind of creating intelligence in store. If I jump then more into how are companies using technology to create more immersive online experiences, and please feel free to interrupt me at any time. But as e-commerce itself evolves, technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality, some of them are ready today, others will be ready tomorrow, right? But also technologies like spatial computing are bringing really tactile experiences. So they're almost creating the in-store experience, but they're enabling us to shop from anywhere, whether it's on our PC at home or on a mobile app. And they've got technologies like reverse image search. So you can show a photo or upload a photo of something you saw in a magazine or a photo you've taken of a product on a TV advertisement, and the search engine will identify what the item is, but also it'll actually go out and scan for that item on the web and come back with options for where you can buy it. You've got virtual try-on platforms that scan your body. They take snapshots of all your biometric data, your neck size, chest size, arm length, length of your legs, circumference of your waist. And they offer highly personalized shopping experiences to help us buy clothes that fit, but also to solve the problem of returns, right? So you don't buy, I'm going to do this on me and I'll be kind, so that I don't buy a kind of a large, an extra large, and an extra, extra large item and then send back the two that don't work. These virtual try-on platforms actually help me get the one that's really going to fit me properly, but also they avoid the merchant returns and all of the issues that we have around sustainability that are associated with that. And that's before we even get to the spatial computing examples, so the wearables, the headsets, which are evolving incredibly quickly at the moment with many, many companies in this space using them. I know a great example. I mean, we're all familiar with products from Google and Meta and Ray-Ban and others, but to give you maybe a different example, Smith Optics uses a face scanning app. I ski really badly. I have delusions of adequacy is the right way to talk about my skiing. But I know that they have a face scanning app that takes the contours of your face and then 3D prints ski goggles that fit you precisely. So you don't get that fogging up or things like that. And Snapfeet, I think, is an Italian startup, and they have a 3D biometric imaging algorithm that allows customers to scan their feet. Why? So you get shoes that fit you perfectly. So these are just some examples maybe of smaller companies that people may perhaps have not heard of that are embracing these technologies, leaning into retail to create these compelling experiences. That's intelligence in store. That's immersive online. Many examples to give you in conversational, in personal, and experiential as well. But I realize, like all good Irishmen, I'm really talking fast and furious here, Maureen, and want to give you an opportunity to come back in.
One of the things that struck me as I was listening is I was in Restoration Hardware recently, saw something in the showroom, which is what they want, that I say must have that. And then you can't take it home. You've got to have it shipped because they don't want their showroom half empty. Like you buying multiple pieces of clothing. I took a shot. I bought some stuff. I'm sitting here looking at a piece of art sitting on my floor right now. I think it's going to work. It would have been really nice to have my virtual reality room take that piece of art, upload it to my house, and say, okay, that fits here, it fits there. I can buy another one. because the process of shipping a large wooden thing is not simple.
Yeah.
It's not hard to go into a store and buy stuff. It is hard to then navigate where does it fit and how do I return the stuff, because I don't think of Mastercard being the one making the changes. I do think of changes happening. I don't think of your role in that process driving the future of commerce. Well, and I also shop for my husband's clothing. So it would be really nice to have a virtual reality of him.
You're probably not alone in that, Maureen. We won't tell anyone.
It would be nice to have a virtual reality mic that I could just tap the thing and watch the clothing spin. Yes to this, no to that.
So let me take that same experience that you've just given me on the fly there. And I remember a stage I stood on in India, I'm going to say 5 years ago, and I was using a technology called ARC at the time. And I was building compelling experiences for retailers to help consumers buy things online that they wouldn't normally buy without being able to physically see them in a store. So what I was doing is I took a smartphone, I built the technology, deployed it on a smartphone. We were making this available to merchants at the time. And actually, in all honesty, it's kind of more readily available from lots of providers out there today. But it shows you how that experience can be recreated. So through my smartphone, in front of an audience of maybe 300-400 people, I'm kind of looking at the stage around me. Okay. So I can see the stage, just the camera on my phone. I can see the stage around me.
Mm-hmm.
And into that, I'd integrated the ERP, so all of the kind of the inventory, the products and services that a particular warehousing company, let's make it up, let's call it IKEA, right? That's just a made up name in this particular context here. And I was able to pick products and services, so chairs, tables, and I was able to drop them into that image. So I can see exactly how they look in the room in which I'm standing. I could go right in, I could walk around them, I could see the color. I could get the accuracy down to about 6 millimeters. So the size and shape of that 6 millimeters was accurate for that room. Now, at the time, what I couldn't do was bring my friends into that room with me. So they could also opine, in your case, on the artwork, right? So they would be able to see it in your living room, right? They'd be able to see it in your living room on the wall. You'd be able to see it. You'd be able to see everything else that's around it in your living room. You'd kind of go, does that work? Yes or no? I kind of think it does. Not going to trust my husband, but I'm going to bring a few of my friends into this and I'm going to see what they think. All of that is possible today. And those are the types of things that our advisors and our other organizations, together with our partners, are out there building with retailers at this point in time. I'd circle back to what I said at the outset. Some of these technologies are absolutely ready for prime time now. Others rely on underlying technologies, so network connectivity, speed, things like that, that sometimes are maybe not quite there yet. But the future is coming on this. I can't remember who said it. It's not something recent. Their quote was, the future happens very slowly and then all at once. I think we're really seeing that in retail, right? We're seeing the ingredients today of a future that's going to be standardized and much more readily available in 3 to 5 years' time. I think we're all going to be there. I would give you the comparison with AI, right? AI has been around for decades and decades and decades, and it's had many false dawns. So the future was coming, and then suddenly it happens all at once. And I think retail, not with one technology, but with the convergence of 5 or 6, the intelligent, immersive, conversational, personal, and experiential technologies. I know we've got to talk about some of them, but I really think as those come together, we're going to have that moment in retail. And when it starts, natural competitive dynamics kind of bring everybody towards a common endpoint.
Now I think I understand a little bit about the trends, a little bit about what Mastercard's doing. It sounds like an incredibly exciting place to work.
Told you I have the best job in the world.
How do you keep your people inspired, motivated? Because innovation is also hard work.
It really is. If you think about the way we innovate, right? So we get this diverse set of signals that come to us from our clients, from our partners, from venture capitalists, from our academic partnerships, from all these fintech companies that we work with. Plus, on top of it, our desktop research. And we really put all of that together, Maureen. And then what we try to do is from that, we try to figure out, and this is really where those futurists come in. We try to figure out, well, given this set of signals, having separated signal from noise, what do we think this is going to look like a couple of years from now? And we publish a huge number of reports on this, right? We call it the signals report. So signals on the future of retail, signals on the future of commerce. So we publish reports as this is what we think is likely to happen here, the big trends that we think are likely to play out. But we put our money where our mouth is too. So we also then try to build the products and services. And that's the really fun part of my job. And that's the part that probably keeps the team more motivated than anything. It's yes, we get to dream the dreams, but we also have to ground those dreams in the realities of the use cases that are going to create value for both our customers and for the end consumer, because we got to build the products and services that are going to work. We don't always build, clearly. Sometimes we partner, we acquire companies to help us execute on that future. But the way that we do that as well is as we talk about building a product, we kind of show our customers what we're building and why, based on our view and what's likely to happen into the future. And then some customers who have a common view with us, our partners have a common view with us, help us build against that same future. So they co-create with us. And that's really the piece that we do. And if we live in that world, if we're always imagining tomorrow, if we're testing our imagination, if we're grounding it in the reality of value for our customers and for the end customers, and then if we're building the products and services and doing it in a way which is going to inspire trust, because trust is so central to the products and services that are going to succeed in the future, then that's a really, really interesting set of roles that allows us to attract. Somebody once said to me, no matter who you are, the best people work elsewhere. But I can tell you, we got some pretty goddamn good teams in this space in Foundry. So we got some folks right across the world. I think we have teams in 20, 30 countries because our clients are in a broader set of countries than that. And we need those inputs. But they're all contributing towards building these products and services, and they're all contributing to bringing the outside in, and they're all contributing to help us think through and sift and out the kind of signals from the noise. And that's a little bit about how we do it. It's a little bit about why I think it's such an interesting place to work. One of the things I talk a little bit about as well, Maureen, and the reason I say this is because I think it's going to become an even more interesting place to work. We always talk about change and the pace of change, and there's been countless people who've talked about how long it took the internet to get to 1 million users, or Gen AI to get to 1 million users, or the smartphone to get to 1 million users. So they look backwards and they say, oh my God, it's so much faster today than it was yesterday. We also look forward. And one of the really interesting things about change is that it's exponential. So the rate of change in the future is increasing over what we've seen in the past. Just to ground that for you, by 2040, we're going to have to be able to spot and respond to 4 times the level of change that we have to spot and respond to today. Now, just think about that for a second. So we're going to have to be able to spot a change, do something about it, figure out our response, do something about it, deliver the outcome, and then do the next change and the next change and the next change. And that's really, really hard to be able to do that if you're a company, and you certainly can't do it all yourself. You need partners. You need partners like the partners that we have in Mastercard. And if you're a retailer, you need partners like Mastercard themselves, because it's in that accelerated rate of change, it's only the most nimble, and those that really have 3 growth muscles: organic growth, inorganic growth, so acquisition and partnership, that are really, really going to survive. And it's those that lean in to the future of technology in particular, because technology is really what's driving an awful lot of that change. So I'm hoping not just do we have a really interesting place for our teams to work today, and a really interesting dynamic with the hundreds of thousands of wonderful partners we work with around the world, but I think those partnerships will be tightened as we look to the future and as the pace of change accelerates again. I would offer that up a little bit as well.
I have so many phrases that I want to say. One, today's the slowest day that you'll have in the rest of your life.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to borrow that. That is brilliant.
The most effective leaders have the mind of a scientist. I use leading practice plus a scientific approach to the world to formulate a good hypothesis and build my products. A client who was a researcher who basically said, I am as happy to be proven wrong as right. And specifically, think about I'm solving hearing problems for people who can't hear. If I spend years going down the wrong path, I have taken years from their lives that they can't hear.
Yeah.
So through that lens, it can't be about my ego. It's got to be about my constituents. So co-creating with the partner in mind, has to be foundational to my approach.
I totally agree. And when you look to the future of retail, overall, I think that the outlook is really positive, right? But there's also challenges out there. And also, those challenges are balanced by some reasons to be really optimistic that we can shape the opportunities and this transformation in the right way. For us, certainly when you think about some of the challenges that customers have, it's like all this technology, what's real and what's ready for prime time now versus what's not. How do we integrate that into some of the existing technologies that we actually have? We're really dependent on consumer adoption. Most retail businesses are driven on scale. So how do we make sure we really understand the experience that we're delivering to a customer? You see a lot of companies in the wearable space at the moment that they're really working hard on that. They've not quite got it right yet, but they're working really, really hard and experimenting to find the right combination of headset and technology and use case that's really going to drive adoption.
Yeah.
And then even some of the technologies themselves, even AI, right? There's still a fairly kind of heavy resistance out there to kind of AI assistance. I think it was an IBM survey recently where 2/3 of the respondents were dissatisfied with the experience that they had with AI. And that's not a diss on AI. AI is absolutely going to get there. It's just we have preconceived notions of what a chatbot was that were defined 2 and 3 years ago versus what chatbots could do today with the introduction of Gen AI and what they'd be able to do a couple of years from now. But there's also so many opportunities. So many retailers understand that trust in their brand, trust in the promise, trust in their products and services is really their currency. That's probably a good way of saying it. Trust is the currency of innovation. And those brands are leaning in. They're trying to create regulations, comply with regulations, keep pace of the expectations. Really important around data, right? Customers can get very edgy if they feel that their data is being taken without their consent or being used for somebody else's benefit rather than from theirs. So we see companies really trying to do the right thing there and navigating those kind of privacy concerns. And that's why I think if you see that and if you just see the sheer amount of investment that's going into this space and the pace at which the technologies themselves are actually advancing. And also, as humans, we're using technology in other parts of our lives, connected homes, connected cars. Our kids are growing up. My son did that, I'm going to say 12 years ago, probably longer, actually. He's 18 now. I hope he doesn't listen to this because I'm going to be shaming him on air. But I think when he was 5 or 6, he tried to swipe the TV because his entire experience was an iPad, right? So their perceptions of technology, their trust in technology, and he's 18 now, are far different to what mine was when, I'm more than 18, right? So I think there's lots of reasons to be kind of hugely optimistic in this space as well. And I think on balance, the reasons to be optimistic, particularly with the mitigants that you see good actors putting out there and the investment going into this space, I think that the reasons to be optimistic outweigh the concerns that we will have to navigate along the journey.
I appreciate that. And it's interesting as a theme across everyone I've interviewed. We all acknowledge that, yes, there are risks. Smart people need to be paying attention to risks. But there are so much bigger opportunities for what our world looks like in the next decade or 2 decades and beyond for what will be possible for humans. And taking it from that global, what will your son's life look like when he's your age? There will be things that neither of us can imagine that are just commonplace. And think about swiping the TV and times 100,000 of what can happen.
I totally agree. I mean, I was asked recently what I thought the impact of AI would be, Gen AI, and in a very short time frame. So the next 12 to 24 months, what I thought the impact of Gen AI would be on commerce, which includes retail. And I said, look, it's really 3 things. It's going to make commerce even smarter. It's going to make commerce even safer. So this is recognizing that it's twin-edged thing here. We got to protect. And it's crucial that we do. And it's going to make commerce even more personal, times 1,000 to your point, right? As you cast this into the future. So there's just tons of reasons to be incredibly excited. I hope I live long enough to see some of these technologies become commonplace, because personally, for me, that world's going to be a really exciting world to live in.
We've talked about big trends, how commerce is changing, what you're seeing from the lens of innovation at Mastercard globally as one of our largest commerce companies in the world. We've got listeners who are everything from close to your peers to new and emerging leaders. If there were a couple of things you would want listeners to take away, what would those be? And I realize now you're synthesizing everyone that's one of your customers.
I would say lean into tomorrow. I think the biggest risk you can have is by clutching to yesterday. It is incumbent on all of us to lean into tomorrow. Make sure never compromise on your ethics, your responsibilities to your client's data, to trust in your brand. We can get intoxicated by tomorrow. We can forget about the need for tomorrow to arrive safely. Don't make that mistake. I would say, understand you can't do this all yourself. There's too much change out there. Don't do it all. Pick the things, whether it's checkout experiences or new channels or helping customers discover you as much as you discover customers. Whatever the things that are going to be most important to your business are, pick those as your battles. I would say make extensive use of partners. You're never going to have the capital no matter how big you are. And I include us in that. One of the biggest companies in the world. You're never going to have the capital to do it all yourself. You need partnership. Partnership requires compromise, and it requires us to look at our business models and to deploy different solutions in different ways. And I would say you've got to become digital as you can be, because with this rate of change, our business models themselves, all of the processes that support our businesses have got to become agile. So that's everything from, your software development lifecycle, your manufacturing processes, your supply chain processes, your contracting processes. You've really got to make them as automated and as intelligent as you possibly can. So to me, I think, Maureen, put on the spot, those would probably be the 5 things that I would suggest that are really important to focus on.
Beautiful. And I can't think of anything to even respond to other than that's a lot for any of us to live up to even 2 or 3 of the 5.
Yeah. Hence partners and pick your battles, right? Really, really, really important. And that's why we do shows like this. That's why we have the businesses that we have. We are trying to be that partner, or at least one of those partners for our customers out there, because if they don't win, we don't win.
Thank you. What a wonderful note to end on. We will all win together or we will all lose together.
That's it. Maureen, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real blast, a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. And how would people learn about you and the work you're doing beyond going to mastercard.com?
Reach out to any of our teams globally. Follow me on LinkedIn. If anyone would like to, I publish a huge amount of content there. If you're lucky enough to be up in Harvard or one of the universities that I'm associated with, perhaps we get a chance to meet in person. And I'm a real global guy, right? I spend about a quarter of my time in the US, quarter of my time randomly anywhere in the world. And as you can tell from my accent, I'm proudly Irish. So I'm always around, Maureen, and I would encourage people to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. Is probably a great channel. I'm pretty active. So, or indeed, contact me through any of your local Mastercard reps or any of the people that you're working with.
Ken, this has been just a brilliant conversation. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you again for having me.